Hi, my name is Brandon O'Donnell. I'm 23 years old and I currently live out in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I work as a development engineer full time. I came to Steve initially about 6 months ago with the intent of potentially competing in bodybuilding sometime in the near future, and overall just looking him to help out with my massing and cutting phases. And the reason I came for Steve ties in with the first point I want to make of why he's been such an awesome coach. Just the level of detail he puts into everything. Like any good professional, especially someone who serves as a mentor or gives advice to people, you want to be able to practice what you preach. And Steve does a great job, on social media, with podcasts, with his website, just putting out great content all the time. And he's able to incorporate just as well with his clients. And just that level of detail, every action he puts in your program, whether it be changes in nutrition or to training, there's a specific reason for it. And he does a good job of explaining to it instead of just making you a robot and following the program. Guides you along the way and explains every step so you can incorporate these things later on. Um, the next thing is he's also just a good friend. Like every coach is someone who just needs to be personable, and with Steve, just talking to him, I feel like he's just, he's with me. He's there right in the trenches every day, like when I'm training and when I'm nutrition. I hear him in the back of my head, and it's not just like some figure behind the screen who I've never met. And even though he's 6 hours away in a time zone difference, and we've never met, it just feels like through these 6 months we're like super close friends. Tell him about, just relate to like my social life. We talk on social media. He gives all his clients shout outs, and it just really makes you feel like a part of the big team. We have a Facebook group that we critique each other on form, give each other suggestions on food recipes, and it just really feels like you're part of something bigger than just your individual goals. It's a really cool experience. So that's a great thing that I think Steve does, with just incorporating everyone and making you feel, more important than you are by yourself. Last thing is, I've just had great results. End of the day, like, a great coach is someone who can deliver time and time again. And in the 6 months working, I'm currently the leanest I've ever been, probably the strongest I've ever been. And on top of that, I've learned a ton, to the point of, being a coach too. I've picked up a lot from Steve to where I could apply it to myself down the road and apply it to other people. And I think that's one of the greatest things of being a good coach, is you want to be able to pass your wisdom on to the next person so they can pass their wisdom on to the person after that. I think Steve does a great job of that in terms of long-term planning, setting up like where I'm going to be months down the road, and just working backwards and making sure that, every week, every day, every set, every, you know, day of my nutrition is for a specific reason, and it's all going to show up in the grand scheme of things. Lastly, in terms of results, it's also the system and the tools that he teaches you and how to evaluate your own progress. And I've said it before, just the way he's able to make adjustments and be there for you, on minutes notice, and be able to just calm you down when things are going bad. I've had a couple injuries that have just, been like, just got in my head, and he's just there to be able to look at it from the long term perspective, give you the practical view of why it's all good. And it's just a real like saver to calm you down when you're just there in the gym super frustrated. It's he's just a little person on your shoulder talking to you, saying it's gonna be all right, and just makes things a lot easier. And last thing I would say is, as people evolve in the fitness industry, You see a lot of the bigger names out there. They don't do as much coaching anymore because they're so worked up in other things like doing, seminars, writing a bunch of ebooks, or just talking to people, and they just don't have time to sit down and put out great content and or coach. And I would say if you're really on the fence about thinking about hiring anyone from Revive Stronger as your coach, I would hop on and do it before it's too late, while spots are still there, and get on as soon as you can. When I initially signed up, I didn't know how long I would stay on. It was my first time working with a coach, but it's just like I've fallen in love with the process. And even though I would technically be better off because I've learned so much with it, it's just that pursuit of knowledge is what's kept me here. And I would highly recommend Steve or anyone on to join Team Revive.